Hi my sweet friends, today I explain a big story. So let's go. The horrific final days of King Henry VIII. By the winter of 1546, the once mighty King Henry VIII, England's lion, Europe Kashikari, had become a shadow of himself. His court still trembled when he spoke, but everyone could feel it, the king was dying. And his final days would be nothing short of horrific.
The fall of a giant. There was a time when Henry VIII rode like a warrior king. Broad shoulders, shining armor, jousting matches, hunting in the forests of Hampton Court, he was the very picture of vitality. But the years had been cruel. Now, the king's legs were swollen like logs of wood, so infected that even the softest touch felt like knives pressing into open wounds. His gout had grown monstrous, and the ulcer on his leg oozed pus that filled entire rooms with a foul smell court physicians tried desperately to mask with herbs. His once charming face had become puffy, purple, and exhausted. He weighed nearly 180 kilos, lifted only by machinery designed to hoist massive chandeliers. His bed was specially engineered to hold his enormous frame. This was not the Henry that Europe once feared, but power, that he still had. He still signed death warrants. He still whispered orders that could destroy noble families. And that power made his final days even more terrifying. 2. Whispers in the palace. Inside the cold stone walls of Whitehall Palace, servants walked silently. Even their breathing felt too loud. They knew the truth. When a king is dying, danger spreads like wildfire. No one wanted to be accused of treason. No one wanted the king's rage. And no one wanted to be near him when pain twisted his temper into pure madness. Every night, Henry would scream from his bed, sometimes from pain, sometimes from nightmares, and sometimes from memories that tormented him. One night, as icy winds rattled the windows, Henry jolted awake, shouting, "Catherine, Catherine, come back." Servants froze. He wasn't calling for his current queen, Catherine Parr. He was calling for Catherine of Aragon, his first wife, the woman he had cast aside after 24 years of marriage for Anne Boleyn. The guilt of that betrayal was one of the ghosts that haunted him. 3. The ghosts of 6 wives. Henry had married 6 women, but in his final days, all of them seemed to return to his bedside, if not in body, then in his troubled mind. 1. Catherine of Aragon. The loyal queen he pushed away. Henry often whispered into the night, "Forgive me, Kate," forgiveness, as if begging her spirit to free him from the weight of the broken marriage. 2. Anne Boleyn. Her execution still echoed in his nightmares. He saw her eyes, calm, steady, unbroken as she placed her neck upon the block. Sometimes he woke crying, "Stop her! Stop the sword!" 3. Jane Seymour. The only wife who gave him a son, Edward. The only one Henry ever claimed to have loved. He cried for her too, whispering, "Jane, if only you'd lived." 4. Anne of Cleves. He called her, "my sister." Perhaps the only wife he treated kindly in the end. She alone visited him sometimes during these final days. 5. Catherine Howard. Just a teenager, executed for adultery. Henry often covered his ears at night, screaming, "Don't let her say it. Don't let her beg," because he remembered her final words. "Please, Your Majesty, have mercy." 6. Catherine Parr. Wise, careful, political. She nursed him like a sick child, even knowing he could sign her death at any moment. In his final days, she read prayers to him, though his mind drifted like a tired ship on a stormy sea. His wives haunted him more than any enemy. IV. The rotten body of a king. Doctors could do nothing. His leg ulcer stank so badly that courtiers placed flowers and candles in every corner of his chamber. The infection had spread to his blood. Fevers came in waves. Sometimes he burned like a furnace. Other times his skin went ice cold, and his immense weight crushed his organs. He could barely breathe. His heart struggled against the mountain of flesh it had to power. He was dying, painfully, slowly, without dignity. The great Tudor lion had rotted from within. Treason all around. But the court wasn't simply watching him die, they were waiting. They wanted to know who would inherit the throne. Would it be Edward VI, the sickly boy king? Would Mary or Elizabeth try to claim power? Which nobles would rise? Which would fall? Which would die? Henry, even on his deathbed, tried to control everything. He summoned his last strength to finalize succession laws. He dictated punishments. He shuffled allies like pieces on a chessboard. He signed documents with shaking hands, leaving ink splatters like blood stains across parchment. And one more thing. He gave the order that no one was to inform him that death was near. Tudor tradition said, a dying king must take communion and confess his sins. But Henry refused to admit weakness, and no one dared speak the truth. So Henry VIII, one of the most powerful monarchs in history, would die without last rites. The last night, January 27, 1547. The corridors were freezing, lit by torches that flickered nervously. Henry struggled to breathe. His chest rattled like a cracked drum. He called for Archbishop Cranmer, the one man he trusted in his final hours. When Cranmer arrived, the king could no longer speak. His tongue was too swollen, his breath too shallow. The once thunderous king now lay helpless, drowning in his own failing body. Cranmer leaned close. Your Majesty, give me a sign if you trust in Christ. Henry squeezed his hand. That was the last thing he ever did. In the early hours of January 28, 1547, King Henry VIII, builder of England, destroyer of monasteries, husband of 6 wives, executioner of nobles, maker of the Church of England, finally died. Without confession, without ceremony, and without any of the glory he had demanded all his life. 7. After death, the horror continues. Even death didn't bring him peace. His coffin was transported slowly to Windsor. One night, the guards noticed something chilling. His coffin began to leak. Henry's massive, infected body had ruptured. Foreign ambassadors recorded the gruesome detail. Dogs were seen licking the blood that dripped from the coffin. It was a horrifying, symbolic end for a king who had ruled with blood and fear. 8. The legacy of a king who thought himself a god. Henry VIII reshaped England forever, through violence, passion, ego, and ambition. He broke from the Catholic Church. He disbanded monasteries. He executed rivals. He created a new aristocracy. He left behind 3 children who would each one day rule the country. But in the end, the man who believed he was chosen by God died like any other mortal, broken, infected, and terrified of his own sins. His final days were not royal, not majestic, not glorious. They were horrific, a brutal reminder that even the mightiest kings cannot escape the slow, merciless hand of death.